Welcome to the bold analysis. There is just information coming in that DCI is trailing two politicians, two MPs, around the deputy president to collect data from those MPs. Because according to what the Standard is reporting, is that they are being blamed or directly being linked to be the ones that hired goons to infiltrate the anti-government protest. So there is that move that is happening, and this is a day to the country gears to what will be another day of Nane, or rather the protests that are slated for 8th of August. There is everything wrong with how we are handling this issue or the current public rage. There is absolutely everything wrong with that, because even the day, some 2 days ago, the deputy president, Gachagua, said there was some attempt assassination on one of his staff, or people that work for him, one of his advisors, and we are still trailing that dangerous route. And I still ask this. So if you obtain data from two MPs who hired you to infiltrate the protest, so whom are we really pursuing? Are we pursuing people who organized the protest, or the people, or we are pursuing the goons? Because even if you will be able to arrest those two MPs, and because that is what is on the radar, even if you will be able to arrest those two MPs ahead of that protest that are linked towards the Gachagua, then what will be the end game? Because, you know, on one end, the goons are being blamed for infiltrating the protest and kuharibu vitu za watu. Because now that is the challenge. That they infiltrated the protest, now kuharibu vitu za watu. Or they are blamed for storming parliament. Probably, I don't know, because the number of storm parliament was quite a huge number. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is just one angle of it. But the way they're handling it, there is everything wrong, because one of the things the country is talking about borders those, how about those who are killed? So that report is coming at a time, that is at a time the Rigathi said that there's an attempt to drag Mount Kenya politicians to it. I've also been trailing the posts by some of pro-government bloggers that have also been running another narrative that Jimmy Wanjigi, businessman Jimmy Wanjigi, has taken over the protests and is now the face behind what the government is terming as anarchy. And I'm seeing it running in social media, and I'm just wondering, instead of trying to maneuver your way through the propaganda and this and that, probably they just needed to be a little bit more smart and do what would be the right thing. Because I'm telling you, political temperatures are already increasing. I saw there is one video that is just in Twitter, another man being abducted in Kiambu Road, on Kiambu Road. And what people, the kind of reactions that we've been seeing is one that is telling you that probably government is getting it wrong once again. If you look at the kind of mobilization that has been employed this time round, I want to play for you a couple of videos here, and you will see how the videos, people have been walking into cars, into matatus, and releasing videos about what exactly is happening in the country.
Story come. Mimi niko hapa kuambia, mimi naitwa William Eba, pia mimi nimetoka Nakuru, nimekuja Nane mpaka Zakayo ashuke. Ndio. So dear Mr. President, wewe ulitafuta kura na ukapata. Sisi tulipata rais, lakini bado tunalipa ushuru. Kwa nchi mwananchi analipa standing charges ndio MP apate sitting allowance. Kwa nchi hakuna kazi, Mayouth kila mahali inabidi wamejiandika kama Flosin Mawano. Dear Mr. President, do you know the leaders of tomorrow are dying today? Regards to hakuna, but everyone has something to say. Manifesto hope hazina, our mothers have resorted to pray. Na watoto wa CBC nani atawafunza hiyo day? Tumechoka. Even Rihanna doesn't want you to stay. Dear Mr. President, let's talk about morals. Tunaishi kwa nchi pia your deputy yako na mavice. Na tuachane wa girls wasome, si ndio? Tutambiaje dem alishika bola akiwa high school? Education is the key na nishajifungua. Story go. Story come. Ati tumesema Nane Zakayo afanye nini? Zakayo afanye nini? Zakayo afanye nini? Zakayo ashuke akwende.
Kabila gani anakuwa president? Kitu tunajali sana ni kama anatusaidia ama hatusaidii. Mimi nataka niwaulize hivi nyi wenye mna travel na mimi. Rais akiwa wa kabila yako kuna kitu inakufaidi? Sahi kuna watu wa kabila zenu wamewekwa kwa serikali. Kuna kitu itakusaidia? Will it help you get a job? Will it help you start a business? Rais alisema hivi, wacha niiseme kwa sauti yake. Sasa hawa mama mboga na hawa watu makanga na hawa vinyozi na wale wabeba, sasa hawa wote wanaweza kukopa deni ya serikali bila interest ili waweze kujiinua. Hebu nione hapa nani amepokea hiyo deni ya serikali bila interest. Kuna mtu hata mmoja amepokea? We need to reach a time mahali tunamaliza uongo kwa siasa yetu. Mimi sitaki kiti na sijakuja campaign. Si ati kuna kiti ya siasa nataka, na si ati kuna kitu nilikuwa nimekosa. Hata leo asubuhi nimetoka K24 TV, nikawaacha gari yangu na driver hapo nje kwa sababu najua DCI wanaweza nifuata, kapiga raundi kakuja nikaingia mat. Lakini nina take opportunity as a person mwenye amekuwa na hiyo bravery ya kuongea, especially sasa wakati watu wanashikwa na wanauawa. Msituone sisi vijana wa Kenya kama maadui. Hao watu wamesoma na hawana opportunities. Hao watu wako na brains lakini wanaambiwa waende wakajenge nchi zingine ati watalipiwa fare ya ndege. Mbona tusiimprove Kenya yetu, to grow country yetu hapa? Nyinyi wenye mmenisikiza mpaka saa hii akili.
Siku ile alikuwa anakuja kwa hizo kanisa zenyu, anawatolea mchango. Mbona siku hiyo mko mnakataa hiyo pesa, mnasema imeibiwa? Saa hii ndio mmejua imeibiwa, saa hii majenzi wameenda kwa barabara ndio mmejua hiyo pesa mlipewa imeibiwa. Si mchukue hiyo pesa mrudishe State House basi. Kama mmekasirika sana na mnaona for sure alikosea juu mnatoa statements kama mmekunja mpaka mmeleta hizi nyama huku mbele ni vile mmekasirika. Si basi mkasirike kabisa mrudishe hizo pesa State House. Na muite TV tuone mkirudisha. Sincerely speaking, when young people are looking at us, and especially for us, men and women of the cloth, so we are called, the clergy. Munakula na mtu, anakuita kwake. Munakula, munakunywa, na munaomba pamoja. Alafu munasimama huku nje, munatatua statements. Na ni mtu mulikuwa munakula na yeye. As in for sure, mimi yenyewe, ningekuwa prezi, pia mimi ningefika mwisho. Ningeshangaa mazeni, ulikuwa nakula na nani hawa? Ulikuwa nakula na manyoka, si watu. Mtu mnakula na yeye, mnaomba na yeye, mnakunywa na yeye, alafu anarudi na kutolea ma statement. Na sasa hiyo umemdunga maka ya macho. Sincerely speaking, wacheni tuokoke. Kama for sure umesimama na mtu, simama na yeye. A brother loves at all times. Yeah. And a brother is born for the days of adversity. And yes, iron sharpens iron. So you challenge each other behind the scenes. But usikuje kuanika mtu mmekula na yeye, mmekunywa na yeye na mkaomba na yeye mbele za Mungu na mtu aseme nimemuita nyoka. In fact, tuache maneno turudi kwa neno. Na ndasoma leo lugha zote mbili, ya Kizungu na Kiswahili.
And probably if we are not going to be if you're not going to be careful, we might end up repeating the same mistake. Listen to this, then we'll come back and look at the other bit of it. Now, I'm trying to get another tweet that I want to play for you because I believe, yes, yeah, I've gotten it. There's this tweet from Naipei Kaikai. He's saying, the difference between what is happening in Bangladesh and Kenya, the Bangladesh protests began over job quotas, while Kenya's protests are focused on economic issues. The Bangladesh government faced a military intervention, leading to an interim government setup, while the Kenyan government has maintained civilian control, seeking dialogue and policy adjustments. Our economy is intact, unlike the failed economy of Bangladesh for the last 3 decades. For the love of our motherland, say no to Nane march, bloodshed and anarchy. This is the basis of my analysis. The government is discrediting, because what happened in Bangladesh is something that has really triggered the world, and the world is talking about what exactly that means for the rest of the nation. The government is trying to discredit what happened in Bangladesh that is not really compared to us. I've been following, and there is every reason for the Kenya Kwanza administration to worry, because I think one thing they've realized is what that tweet is, the purpose of that tweet is to try to draw the parallels and say, you know, don't compare Kenya with what's happening in Bangladesh. But what happened there mirrors the Kenyan situation, because even them, yes, it's indeed true that it started with the job quota, where there's a caveat that they had that a quarter of the jobs had to be given to some, you know, some members of a family, some you know, families of those who fought in the liberation movement of the country, probably that. But the university students protested because government abused it and now was giving more than 60% of those jobs. So it started there. It started as that issue of job quotas. But that was way back in June. I think they started even probably after, I think before Kenya, just around the same time. But look at how it moved, and it moved up to a narrative, or rather a protest of removing the PM. You look at those devastating videos about how the people stormed the residence. And there is everything, and the reason why I think we need not to, the Kenyan team need to mirror what's happening there is because they used they tried using the same dubious means that I saw Kenyans were using. In Bangladesh, because the PM was complaining that the protest was mainly organized by the opposition side, so they mobilized some members of the public with rungus and knives and pangas to neutralize the protest. And then people retreated. The university students retreated. Now after that, it then went through, just went through. Then after some time, people regrouped. Then government imposed some curfew. Then people came out even during those curfews. They were able to outnumber the police, and their strength was on the numbers. They were able to outnumber the police. The PM had to fly out, to be flown out of the country to India. I saw the video of her arriving in India, actually shedding tears. She'd been locked out of the country, and the military took over. Now, the Kenya Kwanza administration, I think just looking at this tweet, it's very good. It's very true that they have resorted to civilian control. But that civilian control has not worked for them, because what it has turned the state, it has actually created more harm than it would help to calm the situation. It has been riddled. The civilian control has been riddled by excessive use of force. The stories of abductions, arrests, and killings, and you know, disappearances, and there's so much. So that civilian control, they've resorted to it, but it has also to some extent does not been well managed. And because of that, it continues to surge. Seeking dialogue, I think the young people said, we don't want the dialogue because what we want for you to address is something that you can do. And then there have been policy adjustments. Until of latest, today, I saw the return of Linda Mama. The PS for Health was talking of a return of Linda Mama. So it is true that William Ruto has tried to make some adjustments. And in fact, the return of Linda Mama, people have been talking about the housing levy. Even as we talk now, housing levy might end up in the list of demands amongst the things to be dropped because it's already riddled with some story that, and I think I analyzed here, that those vehicles, or rather those houses, are not getting tenants because of many reasons. So much as we may want to look at things differently, that we are in a different dispensation. We are different, yes, but we are not far from where Bangladesh is. So if there is something we need to do, we need to act decisively, and Kenya Kwanza needs to put its best foot forward. I know that, and the reason why we need to be a little bit more careful is we are in August, so schools have closed. Yes, some universities have closed, so students are at home. Most students that are leading the protests, it is the Gen Z. Most of those Gen Zs are actually university students, and our schools have closed. So if you'll be able, if the police will be moving to the streets, maybe trying to block people in their estates, then we might experience more harm, being that last time we experienced something like that in Rongai. So one thing that I think, instead of, before we involve in such spin narratives of trying to get who and who is involved in it, I think we need to be very sensitive to the fact that why are Kenyans still agitating? Why are Kenyans still agitating? And the two questions we need to ask ourselves. Why are Kenyans still agitating? And number two, I saw a poster, I think it was shared by one of, I think that was Nyakundi, shared one of the posters and said that they will stay in town, and by 3 p.m, when they converge, they will be asking the president to leave, to resign. And if the president doesn't resign, then they march to State House. You must have realized, and I think the Kenya Kwanza team must realize, that all that they are doing has not created maybe some relaxation of thoughts. And the more we are running such emotional stories of arresting this and linking this and that, it's not going to help the situation. But probably, if you ask me, the reason why these stories of arresting, collecting data from those allied to Gachagua, those MPs allied to Gachagua, is part of the strategy to suppress, so that if there is something happening in the background, it can be suppressed. But then if you also believe that Jimmy Wanjigi is behind it, then instead of abducting the small fish, you should go and arrest the big fish. Why protests are metamorphosizing? It is something that I think the security chiefs must really break down. They must think beyond the mere discussions of we are going to use the bullets and these kids don't understand. The government has always believed that there's something they're doing, but the public are not understanding, and those who are supposed to communicate are not communicating. Now, the first thing I'm seeing here is the political elites hijacked that move, and what was packaged, or rather the strategy that William Ruto used, that old strategy that William Ruto used, of bringing the opposition to the table, it had its own objective of making sure that diehard Raila Odinga supporters who could be daring enough, you need, yes, there are protesters, but you also need protesters who can come out and be brave enough. So you'll be able to remove diehard Raila supporters from that protest. That will be number one. But it came at some cost, and there's some manner of challenges that it came with it. Yes, mommy. Yes, my daughter is around here, so I will just bear, but I hope you understand. Now, it's very interesting, and that was before she came in. I was just saying that the political elites made a big blunder. And the blunder is in the context that most of that which was done, most of that which was they were actually thinking about, was to settle, to make sure we keep people calm. But it didn't achieve because it created more divisions, even amongst the political class. For example, Raila went to join government. The Martha Karua, the Peter Munya, the Eugene Wamalwa, and there is a whole Kalonzo Musyoka. That team is outside. Now, even the political class is split. Ruto gave cabinet slots, but there are some people out there. So it did not serve the unity purpose. So the unity card that probably William Ruto and Raila were talking about on table, it is not there, and in fact, it created more disunity. And again, the Kenyan public did not buy in. And that is why it is only William Ruto talking about broad-based. Raila Odinga is not talking about broad-based. So the Kenyan people did not buy in. So that strategy is not working. Probably they would have tried something else. Number two, the Kenya Kwanza protectionism of security elements involved in violation of human rights was a big mistake. Look at the stories of the other day. There was a report from City Mortuary that they're saying more than 87 bodies have not been collected. They were taken in that month of June, during that month of July, between June 2018 to July 18th, unclaimed. And that was a unique data, because that was a bit absurd because they have never experienced it. Trying to insinuate that there could be 87 people that were killed and were taken to City Mortuary and still admitted as unidentified. These would have been some of innocent protesters that were killed. So this is part of the problem, and Kenya Kwanza has failed. Standard now having a story in page, let me just get that story. Yes, Standard are having a story of how, yes, LSK, look at this story. LSK sues police officer over death of Rex Masai during tax protests. Now, LSK is suing a police officer. This story here, if you check, now this is the story I'm alluding to. This is the story I'm reading. This one here, I think you can look at the headline. Now, if you look at that story, there is a problem there. And LSK is saying that DPP has said he doesn't have the evidence and cannot use the CCTV. CCTV cannot be able to trace the person who killed that boy. There is something that Ruto needed to have done. Just one thing. At least shika hata moja, weka ndani, let the public feel. Feel as if you're also part of it. You cannot be looking for criminals who broke in parliament and criminals who you believe they were criminals, people who broke into people's shops. But you don't want to look for criminal elements within the police sector who also killed innocent Kenyans. You cannot do that. The other third thing is reject finance bill protest turning into a movement. The protest turned into a movement, and the movement is now enjoying the political participation bit. They are now getting the political space, and now they're picking everything by bit. If you look at some of the demands there, abolish housing levy, the issues about SHIF, remove the expiry of identification cards. There are so many other demands in it. And I think, lastly, victimization of Mount Kenya politicians and government officials is a bad move. This one, they need to think through it. It's a bad move because, for example, if you arrest the two, if you dare arrest the two, William Ruto must be a bit careful. Some of this arrest of this, even from Gachagua team, could be part of the script that you arrest them, then people react. You will only pay some attention to what will happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. But I debunk the narrative that what's happening in Kenya does not mirror the Bangladesh. There is some similarity, and we just need to be a little bit careful. Instead of running such, like, I want to arrest Rigathi, Rigathi's allies and this and that, it's not one of the best moves. Thank you.